Hi everyone, and welcome to Adobe Live here at Max, and I am joined today by James Bonanno, who is a director of Leave the Map and full-time traveler. My name is Chris Hansen, and I'm a senior solutions consultant at Adobe, and this is incredible.
Yeah.
We are at Max right now.
Yeah.
This is live. It's been 3 years since we've been here.
Yeah, it feels so good to be back. Thank you for the intro, Chris.
Nice.
I'm super excited to be standing on this stage right now, surrounded by amazing creatives all around the world, and just to be joined by Chris Hansen. And it felt amazing to be at the keynote this morning. For those that are joining and watching, I'm really, really excited to get into what we're working on today and spark some creativity and inspiration, because I certainly feel it.
I feel it too, mate. And there's a buzz, there's an energy on the floor at the moment, and I can't wait to see what you've got, basically. But for those who don't really know what you do or who you are, can you just kind of give us a bit of an intro of what you do?
Sure. Yeah. So as Chris mentioned, my name is James Bonanno. I run a travel business with my wife Anna McNaught, who is here in the background. I can kind of see her off camera here, called Leave the Map, and we both work and travel as full-time creators, photographers, and myself as a video creator and editor. So we travel all around the world, working with different hotels, travel brands, and try to teach what we learned, try to educate people on the beauty of travel, the beauty of meeting people like yourself, meeting like-minded creatives. And I'm just excited to be a part of this entire Adobe team and just a part of Adobe Live today. So,
fantastic. Yeah. Well, there's some comments coming into the chat. Evan McNaught, let's go, James. Amacorn Browers, James and Chris, let's go.
Awesome.
I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, and then we're going to get into some demos.
Cool.
So the first one being the obvious one, you've been able to turn your adventures into a career, right? So how did that come about?
Yeah, it was. It's definitely something that has taken time, and we're continuing to evolve and learn from what we're doing. But I think about 3 years ago, I was working a full-time job, a corporate job that I was happy with, but I knew that we wanted more. My wife and I both wanted the freedom to travel full-time and actually get paid to do what we love, which is sort of the dream. That's what everyone wants. So we ended up giving ourselves a year of how can we actually make this happen. For our honeymoon, we actually rented a camper van and we traveled across the country, and that was our first introduction into, I think, what made us fall in love with van life in the first place, and just the freedom of the open road and being able to make your own schedule. And 3 years later, we've had the opportunity to work with Fortune 500 companies, creating photo campaigns, video campaigns, just in a very short amount of time.
That's fantastic.
I think sometimes it's like hard to reflect on those things when you're constantly in it and working towards it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So you spoke a little bit about your previous career. Can you just touch on that, and how was it to transition to van life?
Yeah, van life should be for everybody. It really
I agree.
Should be.
Totally agree.
It's an amazing experience, and we do it a little bit more part-time now. But living in like I don't even think it's 100 square feet. I think it's like 15 square feet.
Okay.
It's very small. But we were able to make that work. I mean, the relationship that my wife and I have is a collaborative one, and I think it just helps when we're on the road and inspiring each other.
And you're both creative, right?
We're both creative, yeah. Anna's actually going to be teaching a class here at Max on Thursday morning, along the same lines of being able to edit from anywhere in the world. So,
amazing.
And compositing from anywhere in the world.
And I think we saw some of her artwork in the keynote, which was incredible.
It was, yeah. So it's really, really exciting to, I think, over the couple of years of working towards this goal, start to see our work and see it acknowledged. The van life is it's freedom for real.
It's freedom.
Yeah,
I love that. So what's it like traveling in a van with your wife, Anna?
Amazing.
Yeah.
It
no
really
arguments.
Is. No,
you guys get along.
Well, the arguments are funny because they happen very sporadically, and if they are, I'll have to slide the door open and realize I can't really go anywhere. I have to come back in, drop the ego. Right? There's no room to have an ego. And again, I think we get along so well and bounce and feed off each other's energy that we just have a really great time. And we're constantly balancing work and play on those situations. So we call our front seat the office, and that's where we get the best work done and best ideas start flowing on the front seats.
See, I love that, and I actually have a question about that.
Yeah.
So, everyone converted to a home office, right, during COVID time. Do you have a van office? And it sounds like it's your front seat.
The front seat, for sure. I don't know, if I sit on the bed, I just will fall asleep. I'll read or I'll fall asleep. I just don't get anything done.
Yeah.
Whereas the front seat, at least I feel like, okay, I'm driving. We can just we can workshop ideas and things. So yeah, the front seats swivel, we can turn them around,
Brilliant.
sit in the laptop. The Wi-Fi and the internet situation is always a hassle, but we make do with what we have.
Fantastic. Now, I love the name of your YouTube channel, which is Leave the Map. How did you come up with the name of it?
Honestly, we were I think maybe even more than 4 years ago, we were trying to share our travels as anyone else does on Instagram, when Instagram was starting to really become the place to put your work. And we felt like we needed a brand, we needed something to stand out amongst just like any travel couple. And at first we were just sharing iPhone photos and just resharing people's posts. And I think we just like wrote on a paper just names that felt associated with travel. And our two big core beliefs are traveling with a purpose and getting out of your comfort zone.
Love that.
And the Leave the Map idea was sort of like, don't actually leave the map, like take the map with you so you know where you're going, but get out of those.
Map, right?
We are the map.
You are
We
the map.
are the map. But get out of those, get onto the off the beaten path places, explore places you wouldn't know, meet other like-minded travelers. And it's a little scary at times, but that's something that we continue to try to push ourselves in our career and with the work that we produce too.
I love that. I love that. So I know you got a couple of things to show us soon, and we'll get to that.
Yeah.
But I wanted to talk to you about Premiere. So how did you get into editing with Premiere Pro?
I've been a video editor for well over a decade now, 15 years maybe. I started in high school on like Flash and Final Cut and some of the old legacy programs. And I think Adobe was really introduced to me in college, where I went to film school and I started really creating videos more professionally there. And I've loved Premiere since. I feel like they've done a great job iterating just more useful workflows and tools. I think their workspace layout has really helped just be more efficient in editing.
Especially with the new user experience interface change, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think the interface change looks amazing, especially across all platforms, because a couple years ago I got into using After Effects for animation as well. And so the synergy between the two just make it fun to edit. And I've always, once I get in a creative flow, I've always really enjoyed the process of video editing, which we'll see here today in a minute. And I think Premiere just allows me to do that and kind of has always allowed me to do that.
Awesome. So some questions coming in the chat. Sam Peterson, does traveling with a purpose tie into your work?
Yeah, that's a great question, Sam. I want to say yes all the time, but there are certain times when we have to stretch it a little bit. But I would say most of the time it does. We had the opportunity to shoot a travel documentary in Cambodia and Vietnam a couple years ago, and that was really like the first time the light bulb went off that I want to try to create content, video content specifically, that, I don't know, tells a narrative, tells a story, creates change in some way. And I think the travel with a purpose doesn't have to be that extreme. It can just be, hey, I really want to go to this place because I'm interested in their culture, I'm interested in the food or the people, or whatever. And I think that is traveling with a purpose.
Absolutely.
In its simplest form.
And then you can document that as you go along and then share that with the world.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's really rewarding too. And when people respond to it, like everyone here on the stream is, and just people we talk to, that makes it worth sharing.
Fantastic. All right. I've got some more questions, but
cool.
I'd love to see what you've got today.
All right, let's
can we jump in?
I would love to jump in.
All
I would love to jump into Premiere Pro. Let's do it. Chris, thank you for the questions.
Not at all.
And again, we'll be monitoring the chat here,
Yes,
so if there's
we
questions
will.
that come on in. So we're on the same lines of travel. We can't set up traveling with a purpose without showing some of our travels, right? It'd be kind of weird. So we actually just got back from, I want to call it a dream trip to French Polynesia and Bora Bora, where we got way out of our comfort zone. We lived on a sailboat with random strangers for about 10 days, and it was an incredible experience. But today what I want to do is create a 9x16 reel of some of those drone clips to really highlight the beautiful landscapes that we saw while we were there and just those colors. And try to just create like a 7 to 10 second reel that you at home could very easily recreate with similar clips or your own content. And I want to show everyone at home how to format those clips, because most of the time we're shooting in a 16:9 or a 4K format, and how do we actually format that for a reel, for a TikTok, YouTube short, and then maybe get into some of the features that were spoken about this morning at the keynote, Frame.io being one of them for that content review, which is really cool, and then some export functions as well.
I'm really excited about this because I'm trying to do some video here, so I'm going to learn something, I think.
I hope so. I hope so. My job will be done if I can teach you one thing.
One thing. Love
All right,
that.
so we have a project up that I've already created, but I want to start from scratch. I want to show everyone how I actually how the sauce is made. This sauce is pretty simple, so hopefully the recipe is not too complicated. So we're gonna go to File, New, Project. And the reason I wanna start here is because there's a feature that I'm now just starting to use where normally in like Legacy Premiere, you would create your project, and then inside of your project in a bin, you would bring all that footage in. And there's actually just a much simpler way to do that. So I'm gonna name this project Adobe Max Live, okay? And my project location is where I have the footage, this drone footage that I'm gonna be importing into the project. So I've already set that here. And what I wanna do is I just wanna select all this footage because I've already gone through, and let me just choose this location to make sure I have it here. So we're gonna go to my folder, we're gonna go to footage, and so the footage is in here. So I'm gonna click this folder, and I'm gonna go Command A to select all this, and then I'm just gonna go create. And now what this has done, this is all the drone footage that I had shot on this trip here. And rather than me manually going into the project window here, I can just create one sequence that's already laid my selects out.
So you've pretty much cut out like 2 or 3 steps before you even begin editing.
Yeah.
See, that's fantastic.
Yeah, and I think again, like that's the biggest piece of any of these updates that I think Adobe's continuing to push. Premiere especially, is just the time-saving part of the workflow. Anything that can cut out a couple minutes here and there of like manual labor inside of the app is super helpful.
Absolutely.
So now that we have our selects, what I want to do is I want to start going through, and time permitting, I'm going to pick maybe 5 to 6 clips that I'd like to build into a reel sequence. I think the drone footage here, this is all raw, like uncolor graded footage. So
I mean, it looks amazing even for raw. Like, look at it.
I didn't have to do much, honestly. I just had to throw it up and hope that it didn't get lost in the wind. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to come in and I'm going to create a new sequence. Okay, so Command N, new sequence, and I've already actually created a custom preset here for a reel. But to do it manually, you're going to go to your frame size here, because normally your frame size is 1920 by 1080 or 4K, but I have 1080 by 1920, and that's the 9:16 aspect ratio for TikTok,
of course,
for Reels, and kind of the standard of everything on the phone now. And if I want to save this as a preset, so I don't have to do this manually every time, I go to Save Preset,
give it a name.
IG Reel
for
Max, we name it, you can just call it Chris Hansen is awesome.
I love that.
You know, that kind of thing, all right? And our sequence name is, once it loads, our sequence name is Bora Bora Max Reel, okay? And we already have our preset settings, so for future purposes, we can go and add it. And now we've created our 9:16 canvas, right? So here's our selects here. Let's say I want to go back in here and rename this. I'm just going to name this select so I don't confuse myself. And I personally just...
Hygiene, layer hygiene is very important.
Hygiene, that's a good way to put it, honestly. I'm a big advocate for organization in here.
Totally agree. So, hashtag layer hygiene, everyone.
Layer hygiene. So Command B will put these into bins. This is just Premiere 101, and I can't stress it enough. I do this on a lot of live streams. Layer hygiene.
Love it.
Command B again, let's just do sequences. Boom, okay? And this is done in seconds, so
this
we're not
is exactly what I do. I love this.
And honestly, sometimes like it's a procrastination tool.
Yeah.
I'll just go in there and I'll organize for a while. Because I'm like, I don't really know what to edit yet.
In the front seat, the home office of the van.
The home office of the van. So anyway, so let's get cranking on some selects here. So the first thing I'm gonna do, Shift Command or Shift Plus, Command Minus, this expands my clips so that I can actually see exactly what I'm looking for here. And let's just start pulling some clips that I really like. This paraglider boat is really, really cool. I think when I'm creating for vertical video, I try to think of something that would look good in that 9:16 format that still wouldn't like lose the essence of what it is. So we're gonna copy this. We're gonna go over to the setup here. And actually to make our workspace a little bit easier, like I spoke about earlier, I'm gonna go up into workspaces and I'm gonna go to assembly. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna open up our sequence again, and this is kind of a trick that I like, and I'm gonna drag this where you see it's purple down here, so that I can
double sequences.
This is double sequences, or like pancake editing.
Yes, pancake
so
editing.
You can actually just pull things from the selects. And actually, I want to switch this because I just like working from kind of top to bottom. So now I have my selects up here, and I have my workspace below, which just makes things a little bit easier, right? So Command Plus. Let's just grab a couple more clips as we're going here. Again, as I go through, we'll probably start cutting this. And if there's questions in the chat, this is a cool clip. This is Anna and I at this really swanky hotel that we can never afford again. So we're going to drag that in. Let's see what else we got. This is a cool clip here. A lot to work with, even in a vertical format. We'll drag that down. I'm going to just go based on my gut, based on what I'm feeling here. And again, like this I think going to places like this, as I mentioned earlier with traveling, like you don't have to go to places like this to get out of your comfort zone.
That's true.
To travel with a purpose, although it's pretty awesome when you get a chance to do that.
Yeah, I think it's important to capture something quite unique as well. So when you're up there, when you're out and about, you don't really necessarily need a drone like James has.
Yeah.
You can still create content from wherever you are.
Oh,
essentially,
absolutely.
If you've got everyone's got a smartphone now, right?
Yeah. My God, yeah.
They've got like a 4K camera in their pocket, literally.
It's pretty incredible, honestly. I think like the ability to create from anywhere, really, and using the tool that is on you at the ready is such a convenient and way to really just push that creative boundary, and then get people into Premiere and get someone into editing quicker than they ever could before. It actually makes me a little mad that I didn't have that luxury when I was in school. So I totally, I'm jealous.
So I love what you're doing here. You're essentially just viewing the top sequence and then picking what you want and then dragging it into the second sequence just to fill out a new video.
Absolutely, and this is a great technique in pulling select. So I always try with bigger projects, it doesn't just have to be social media, it could be larger form projects, creating that selects sequence and then having those layers so that you can very easily just pull from it. It's kind of like a node-based edit that is in some different programs, but you're doing it right here.
Fantastic.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
All right. So and Chris, keep me honest on time, so I don't run out of time.
I will.
Here.
Don't you worry about that.
Cool. All right. Good.
I might, as you're doing that, I might just start asking you some questions. So, what is the best project you've worked on? I'm looking at this one, and I'm going to say. This could possibly be it, right?
Well, I'm in the process of editing it. Again, we just got back a couple weeks ago, and I have about 3 or 4 projects to release over our YouTube channel. So if you are watching, if you're subscribed to the channel, that'd be great to check them out. They will be available in the next month or so when I get to editing them. But yeah, I mean, the projects we worked on, I really do love this project we did in Cambodia, all about the Cambodian water crisis and just their clean water issue around Southeast Asia, really globally. But we had an opportunity to really film a safe aqua tower being installed for the first time, and kids drinking clean water for the very first time, being able to bring it home to their parents, their family, and I had the opportunity to make a documentary on that. And to me, that's still one of the most impactful videos I've created. Yeah. There's other videos that I might like a little more just for the footage and our experience, but I think for driving change and traveling with a purpose, that like hits it on the head for me. And
even bringing awareness to something like that to people that probably wouldn't be aware of that, around the world. So that's awesome that you do things like that.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. It really it meant a lot.
As you're doing that, what's the craziest experience you've encountered during van life? Positive or negative, by the way.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, positive, I would say, we were just talking about this a little bit earlier. We try to camp in freer campsites just to save money while we're traveling, and you experience some things differently. And a few years ago during COVID, we had the opportunity to travel out to Montana in Glacier National Park, which just, if you've never been, stop watching the stream right now after the stream and go drive to Glacier National Park. It's an amazing place. And we camped right along the river and met an amazing group of other like-minded travelers and people that were doing the same thing we were. And we were very scared to do that because it felt a little
out of your comfort zone, right?
You're very out of your comfort zone, and we planned on being there for a night, and we ended up staying like 8 days and had potluck dinners shared and hang out around the campfire, and you just meet similar souls, people that believe what you believe, and it makes it all worth it. It makes the whole experience worth traveling.
Yeah,
for sure.
I totally agree. Getting out of your comfort zone, it's definitely a must.
It really is.
How are we going there?
So we're going to cut this. So Command K cuts this clip. We're going to just move this in. I'm going to just play this back. L will give me the fast forward. I want to just start this clip right on this little cute kiss. Command K, and then Shift Delete is ripple delete. Ripple delete. So we don't even have to move our fingers here. Okay. And I don't love that this is a little slower in the beginning. Again, I might change this, Command K. Yeah. I'm just gonna start shortening these and just lay some stuff out so we can get some music in here.
I love how you're using keyboard shortcuts.
Yeah.
A lot of people, they'll go to the menu, use the mouse. Takes a little bit longer, that's fine, but keyboard shortcuts really gets you to the finish line faster.
It really does, yeah. Keyboard shortcuts. I actually have done it was another Adobe Live on the channel on specifically keyboard shortcuts.
Oh, I love that.
That's there, some of my favorite ones. And the more you use it, the better you get with those shortcuts, and the more you're like, oh my, how did I not know this existed? What am I doing with my life? So I'm just going through here. Ironically, I ended up picking all the shots of the Four Seasons in Bora Bora, but maybe this will be like a Four Seasons ad, who knows?
Yeah.
So right now I'm going through and I'm picking the best moments of these clips that I know I might cut down or speed up or speed ramp. We're gonna close this. And I always try to cut on a movement and an action already, especially with social media. Someone's going to leave in a split second if there's not something happening.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
people's attention spans these days, they're very short, right?
Very short.
Especially with mobile and viewing everything on the mobile device. So,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm just going on here. I'm going Command K just to get us through here. I like the fact that this is a nice reveal of this boat.
Yeah.
So we go from off camera here, and I'm just going to drag that out. All right. So that's a little bit slow for my liking. So I've set up a keyboard shortcut, which you can do right here in the window. So you can set up your own keyboard shortcuts. You don't have to listen to what Adobe tells you need to do, but you can set up your own. I personally Command R was already the setting for clip and speed.
Yep.
I like to reverse clips. I like to speed them up, slow them down. So for this one, I'm just gonna go like 250. And again, we wanna get to things quicker.
Nice.
That looks pretty cool. Maybe we cut there. I don't know. This is already really long. This is 49 seconds. I want this to be...
That's really long?
That's
49
very
seconds?
long. Oh, that's so long. Like 4 seconds sounds like an eternity now when we talk about it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually reference a clip that I already started making so we can show how to put some audio into this and actually spice it up a little bit and then maybe get to the export process as we're running low.
Now, as you're doing that, a question from Max Chat from Wade. Do you back up your work while traveling?
Yes. I try every single night that we're shooting anything, working on a project, to back it up. Right now I'm editing off of just a solid state drive, a 2 terabyte solid state drive. And then we have recently this year set up a NAS in our home for our business, so we can always have a redundancy of all our footage and projects. So yes, it's so important to back up your work. Even if you're tired and want to go to bed, you never know if someone's gonna, hopefully not, steal that memory card or lose it. It's really, you definitely want to back it up.
Back it up.
Okay.
Another question from Wade. How do you balance time and quality when making your projects?
Oh man, that's a great question, honestly, and it's something that I definitely struggle with. I think in the age of constant content, right? Constant social media, with every scroll you feel like, oh, I didn't make that, I gotta go do this really quickly.
Yeah, or there's a new trend.
Or there's a new trend and I gotta hop on the trend. And I think the most important thing, and I heard this recently, I don't know from who, but be true to the storytelling that you want to make and take time to tell the stories you want to tell, even if you're missing trends along the way, because ultimately those will outperform, well, maybe not outperform, but they're going to live on for a longer amount of time, and you'll feel more accomplished in doing that.
Yeah, and it's what you're creating as a creator as well, right? It's your own personal work and it's your own take on it.
It is, but it is very hard to balance the time of, I want to edit all these projects, but I also want to put reels up for engaging with our community and our audience, and I want to do this and that. And so you have to, I'm getting better at trying to say no to things and just say, all right, ignore that, focus on this one thing. And I think sometimes giving yourself a goal of having bigger projects helps.
Yeah, you always got to have a focus. I mean, even if it deviates slightly, you always have the main goal of focusing in.
Absolutely. So here is kind of what I worked on before, just because this is like the Food Network and it's got to be before we're live. And we have a nice music track in here that I have sourced ahead of time. So if I want to play this back, I'm going to throw my headphone on real quick. So you'll notice right here, I'm going to delete this real quick. These are handles that I'm going to add, and this is called speed ramping. So this is very basic Premiere, but let's say we want to speed a clip up and change that duration to maybe hit the sound of an audio beat. What we're going to do here is play this, and I want to maybe hit a marker right here. So
so you're finding the beat, and then you want the speed ramp to hit that.
I want it to hit it there. This is like this is a lighter beat, so it's not super on the nose. But if I go right click, control, and show my clip keyframes, I've already set this, but standard, this is your opacity keyframe. So if I pull that down, there's your opacity. But if I want to change that to speed, right click and speed, and I'm going to press P for the pen tool, and I'm just going to drag this clip up to like I don't know, 300 something %, drag this out, and then I'm gonna move these handles so that I can sort of create a nice like Bezier drag. And if I click in here, you'll see that I have that ability to pull that and kind of, I don't know, just create like a nice
ramp
transition, a nice ramp. So if I play that back, okay, I think it should be faster than that, and it should happen sooner, like right after she jumps. When she hits the water, there, I'm gonna drag this back.
Nice.
And then I'm gonna pull this back and cut it and close the gap. So if I play this back, you just get a nice little, just something quick. It's like a little transition to go to the next step. So again, I speed ramped here a little bit, and I'm liking the way this is looking. I think it's still maybe a little long, so I'll cut this clip and delete, drag this out, and we're like, I want to get to around 7 seconds, okay?
So this is for a reel, right?
This is for a reel. This is around like maybe 9-10 seconds. So I'm gonna drag this out, and I'm feeling pretty good about this for the quickness of how long we're working on this.
Yeah, of course.
And if you don't see this function in your program window, I'm gonna go plus here to the button editor, and I like to drag loop playback. And the reason I like to do this is because I want this to be a forever loop in my reels and TikTok, whatever. If I click this on and off, and I play this to the end, now it's on, and this will just continue to loop. So I can hear those audio tracks, I can hear where something should seamlessly transition, so I know, okay, it's ready for somebody to just mindlessly sit there and scroll before they realize, wow, I watched this like 5 times.
But beautiful content, right?
Yeah,
that's what it's all about.
That's the goal. And one thing here before we get into the export process is the formatting, right? So because it's a 9:16, we want to make sure that this is positioned in maybe the center of the frame in the best place possible. So I'm going to drag this around. I'm going to go back into my button editor window. I'm going to pull in the show guides, and I'm going to pull in the safe margins, and you'll see why in a minute. So if I go show guides, actually we're going to go to window, show rulers, and I'm going to drag this down, and my safe margins, and I'm gonna drag these so I have these guides up so I know exactly where the center of that frame is at all times, so I can make sure that like the viewing experience is as seamless as possible.
And you got snap on, so the rulers snap in?
Yep, so they snap in, so there's one clip, okay? And then for this one, we're gonna do the same. This I can only zoom out, 90%.
Okay.
So that's looking pretty good.
Nice.
Again, we're gonna drag this out. This I like because of our rule of thirds. We're kind of in the lower corner, and we can't go up any higher because of that 16:9. And let's go to this clip. I want those girls to be centered. All right, and just like fixing things little tiny details that will help, I think, somebody stay engaged as long as possible, right? And I could come in here and even add a scale property to animate this in a little bit. So we have a subtle push. So we went from 100% to 110 as we're pushing in. Maybe we do that on this, but because we're zooming out, maybe we push in, so it almost feels like a vertigo effect.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
So now we go like 120. And so as we're droning up, we're pushing in. So all these little things
I like that.
kind of makes you feel like you're stuck in place.
Yeah.
Okay?
So there's a question from Robert. Does the social media short attention span affect the way you shoot?
Yes. Well, no, it affects the way I edit.
Okay.
Not really the way I shoot.
Yeah.
I think over time, the more I've shot, I've learned how to shoot less, know what I'm shooting, pick the best moments. But in editing, it certainly forces me to think quicker.
Yeah.
It certainly forces me to think, what is the most compelling, captivating first shot to start with? And so yeah, that certainly makes a difference.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. Interesting.
So I think we are, how are we at on time here? We're good?
Yeah, we're good for time.
Cool.
Yep.
Okay.
Sweet. Got about 10 or so-ish minutes.
Awesome. Okay, so we're gonna keep going here, just make sure we got everything looking good. Now, let's say I want to come in here and color correct these clips. So this specific clip, it wasn't shot in like a log profile, but I do have some drone footage here that was. So I'm gonna pull a couple of those in really quickly, and I'm gonna just show.
So you're gonna reference from original.
Yep, I'm gonna pull a clip. These are some clips that a friend of mine shot on his drone, and his were actually shot in vertical format because he is shooting specifically for vertical, and this is on a drone that can now shoot that 9:16 landscape. So let's just, for the sake of color grading one of these, why don't we pull this clip in here. Okay, so I'm just gonna manually drag this. This is just from the same folder, so it wouldn't like relink my media. And let's grab this really cool clip of an eagle ray flying over, like pretty cool to capture that. And let's grab one more of that boat. That boat looks sweet, right?
That's nice.
And maybe one more just as like kind of a different angle or different shot here.
I feel like I need to up my drone game watching this now.
Honestly, just going to places like this, anybody can do it, and they'd be fine. It's crazy. So let's take this clip. Okay. So now I want to take these 4 clips, and I'm going to do what I just did over again, and we're going to color grade that. So I'm going to go into my preset IG Reel for Max, color graded drone reel. Okay, so it's already set for us.
Yeah, I love that.
And I'm just going to highlight these clips.
Yeah.
You can see we shot them in 60 frames, so we can slow those down if we need to. We're going to keep the existing settings because he shot that in 4K. So I've created a 1920 by 1080 sequence, so that's why it looks scaled in. So all I'm going to do in here is just come in here, control, set to frame size, and now it's set to that frame size. And the reason I like doing that is because we can push into that 4K clip without losing that quality. So I'm just going to find the best moment here. That looks kind of cool. And because it's at 50%, I can actually zoom out now. Oh, actually I can push in and I can move this more centered. So I want to go back to like 100%, and I want to just maybe go back here.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Focusing in on the yacht there, right?
Yeah, the yacht. So we're going to go here, we're going to cut that. And I like this clip even more. That's just pretty sweet. Okay, Command K again, delete, delete. Your fingers get real fast in shortcuts
I can see you doing
that. I feel like I'm just like a mad scientist in there sometimes. So why don't we start with this clip to color grade it a little bit. And one of the features that was talked about in Keynote this morning is the ability to color correct quicker, which again, going back to this constant like time saving versus doing shoddy work, I think you can do both. Not shoddy, you can do great work and do it quickly and efficiently. And color correction, let's try it. Let's see what this auto tool will do to this clip.
And this is using Adobe Sensei, which is artificial intelligence and machine learning, so this is going to be really interesting to see.
Yeah, I'm kind of excited because I haven't done these clips yet.
Oh, okay.
So this is all, we're
live.
We're truly doing it live here today, guys. I'm going to make this clip a little faster, so again, Command R, speed. And again, this is a nice little function here. This is how long the clip is, so it's 5 seconds, 15 microseconds. If we wanted the clip just to be like 2 seconds, we could just come in here and set it to 2 seconds.
Okay.
So the speed will actually automatically adjust to that. So Command R, now it's at like 275%. So we know now that'll be 2 seconds. And I think that moves faster.
Yeah, that does look
And it just makes you want to see more. Okay, so here we go. So we're gonna go basic correction and we're gonna go to auto. Ready?
Yep.
Dun, 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 dun.
Go. Ooh, okay.
Did that do anything yet?
Yeah, it did.
It did.
There was a slight bump, but I like that because it wasn't a dramatic increase.
Okay, let's see what it did. Here we go. We got.
Yeah, have a look at
it's
exposure,
it's pretty
contrast.
subtle.
Yeah.
It's definitely pretty subtle.
But you can always go over the top
But you
of that,
can go,
right?
So what we can do is we can just come in here. Again, this is sometimes good for that first pass to get you started.
Yeah.
Sometimes it might work a little bit better on other clips because I think this clip was so flat and was shot in such a flat log. What we want to do is we want to come in here and I want to push the boundaries of this color and this dynamic range. So if I go into the lumetri scopes here, I've set this workflow up for what works best for me. I like seeing the histogram. I like seeing the vector scopes for brightness. So this up here on the left is purely brightness, highlights, shadows, that kind of thing.
So just touch on the histogram and the brightness and stuff like that, just so viewers understand what you're talking about.
Yeah, so if you look at the left here, the value is 100 and 0. That's white and black in the most basic sense, right? So white being your highlights, your whites, black being the shadows and those blacks. So that's contrast in between. And right now it's pretty well balanced. You can see that we're not peaking. If I, as a test, if I drag this way up, it could just be my computer right now, but this should update, adjust. Usually, there we go. Yeah. So you can see as I'm doing it, it's pulling those whites all the way up. And that's what you don't want. You don't want to.
You want to keep it fairly balanced, right?
You don't want to lose that information in the highlights. And the same goes for the blacks. So if I crush the blacks, there's actually not too many there, so I can crush them all the way. And I'm still retaining all of that good detail and the contrast that is in that camera, right? So again, all these cameras, the drones, even the iPhones now, smartphones have so much information in those sensors that you can color grade a flat log profile.
Incredible.
To make it look really nice. So we're in here, we're gonna pull the contrast up a little bit. This is me just coming in and manually adding to that auto. And if I click this on and off, it's already doing a really nice job just bringing that saturation up.
So just a couple of questions in the chat. Do you always shoot in landscape and then crop in portrait for social?
I always shoot landscape, yes. I've been asked to do a few jobs where we have to shoot the whole thing portrait vertically, and I actually saw someone this morning shooting a recap of the keynote on a gimbal vertically, and it gave me like sweat. I got sweaty. I'm like, oh man, I don't like that, but I have had to do that, and clients are asking for that now because they know the end goal. They know that the goal is specifically for social.
Yes,
but my belief is that you can always use that content for a website, you can use it for YouTube, and I think that's just 16 by 9 to me personally feels so organic and authentic that why not have both?
No, I agree, and I think that you can use both, obviously, for different formats and mediums.
Sure.
Another question from Wade, any new features you are trying out that are the most exciting?
Yes, let's get to that really quickly because I do have a feature that I am very excited about. I was giddy this morning, and I have not had an opportunity to try it enough. But I will speak to it pretty intelligently, hopefully, here. And that's this collaborative workflow that, if you watch the keynote was spoken about and the integration with Frame.io, Frame.io. And I use Frame outside of Adobe, and it's nice to see the two really connected. Specifically just on like a review, getting feedback standpoint, because it's such an Achilles heel to send a video, to upload a video that's a large file, whether it's H.264 or ProRes. Render a video that the client goes, this is garbage, we don't want, and you're like, what did I just do? You can do it right here from Premiere and get feedback very quickly. So if you go into the workflow and you go to review, up here in the top, if it does open, which it should, it did before.
If you go up to window there, you might be able to go review with Frame.io.
Let's see.
Just down the bottom.
Review with Frame. Let's turn it off and let's turn it back on. I think sometimes when it's open, it's hidden. It's like hidden, but it is there.
It's there.
But I do have the browser open.
Okay.
So what I've done here inside of Premiere is I've added this version. I've added a version, and I've shared this.
Okay.
So I imagine Anna McNaught, that is my wife. Imagine she is the client in this situation. She can go in now, play the clip that you just watched back, and she can leave notes and say, okay, let's speed this up a little bit. Let's add color here. And it'll automatically add that time code for me so that back in Premiere, I don't have to like read through an email that said, here's the time code, go fix this. So it's just a huge
No one wants to
saver.
read time-coded emails anymore.
No.
And is she in the front seat of the home office? Or are you? How does that work?
I think I'm the one driving. I do a lot of the driving, and she does also drive.
That's good.
Let me just try this really quickly, because I think I'm gonna close it out just to reopen it.
That's fine. As you're doing that, another question. From Sebunya, what's the most ideal duration for good social media posts?
That's a great question. I'm still trying to figure it out myself,
I think we all
honestly.
are, right?
I think they say like anywhere between that 7 to 15 second range. I feel like maybe it could be more, a little less, but I think like over 3 seconds. 3 seconds is so short.
It is.
And it doesn't really, unless it's really those quick like IG reels that go by really fast, maybe. But I would say like I tend to like that 7 to 12 second range. Again, it really depends on what you're doing too. It depends on what you're trying to feature, showcase. If you're doing a dance video, if you're doing more text heavy stuff, maybe it needs to be a little bit longer.
Interesting, because I've been doing 1 minute reels. Is that too long?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna cut them down short.
I would say 30 seconds. So I don't know if everyone agrees with me or not, but I would say 1 minute reels now. Unless you're just someone so captivated by the content, Chris, which I'm sure is amazing, that they're watching for that minute. But I find it hard to keep people's attention.
Yeah, fair enough.
I think YouTube is the place for that. Behance as well. But yeah, reels I think are different.
So Robert asked, do you change color grading for specific social media outputs?
I've never really thought about that. I probably would say no. I would just say like whatever the style is that you're going for sticks across the board. You know, like your branding, we talked again a lot about branding this morning in Express, but I think that is in every Adobe suite program, like having CC libraries here to make sure your branding is consistent. I think the color grade is also part of that. And
that matches the grid, right? The grid's important.
The grid is important. I think it's still equally as important, but it's changing a little bit because so many people are posting videos. But I do think the color, like if you're somebody who's overly vibrant and wants saturated footage, that should stay consistent across all platforms.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I did get it to work.
You did.
I figured that was the issue. So here, if we look here, let's say I want to take this clip and I want to share it with my client. in this case my wife, or I'll share it with you, Chris.
Okay,
we'll
thank
pretend
you.
to share it with you.
Yeah.
So you go to upload here inside of Frame, and we upload to active sequence. So
Yeah.
I've already done that, and that happens in the back end again through Media Encoder and Adobe Sensei, and it encodes that file very quickly, so that right here we are now connected to Frame. And that green dot, you can see that Anna left that comment on the browser, and it's right here inside of Premiere for me to look at and say, okay, speed this clip up, speed ramp it to 150%.
So you get that feedback directly inside of Premiere?
Correct, yeah. So let's say I want to leave a comment here, back, and say, this clip, ungraded.
Okay.
Right, so it's ungraded for color, and I click that, and we go back into our browser. This should ideally show up. So because it's all
and
one
she'll
account, she'll get that update. If you're using it and sharing it with someone like you, then it would be a different name, obviously. But it's happening in real time, and that will just help me and help editors around the world to really speed that workflow up, so that when you export a version, you know this is the finished version.
Amazing.
And I can export. And one last thing I did want to hit on as we finish up here is the export itself. So when we go into the export tab, one of the great things that is part of this new workflow is the preset versions of exporting. Not everybody knows.
Straight to social.
Straight to social, you can publish it straight to social. So I've already signed into our YouTube channel. So let's say I exported the 16:9 version, I can publish it here, I can leave a title, a description, I can set it to private, so I can, if I have a busy week the next week, I can post them early.
That's
and
brilliant.
then just set them. And I can do the same thing for Facebook, Twitter, Behance, and Creative Cloud. And those preset functions just, again, save time and just help you in the long run.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I know we've got a couple of minutes left, but one last question.
Yeah.
What does the future look like for Leave the Map?
Ooh, oh man, that's a great question. More opportunities like this, more education on traveling, on meeting other people.
Australia, you're going to come to Australia,
100%.
right?
We're coming to Australia
Yeah.
to visit you, obviously.
That's what I want to hear.
Of course. But yeah, I think for Leave the Map, it is traveling more, getting out there, creating more stories, more content.
Love that.
Content that
Love
is, again, driving a narrative and making a difference.
Awesome.
Yeah.
James, thank you so much
Thank
for
you,
being
Chris.
here.
This
and
was a pleasure, man.
yeah,
Thank
absolutely.
you.
And Adobe Max, this is incredible. We're back live. Thank you everyone for joining, and I hope to see you soon.
Yes, thank you, everyone. Take care.
Bye-bye.